Okay, good morning and welcome to the Maryland PTAC. Today, we are so glad that you could join us. We're going to have a great event today. I'm your host. Obviously, I'm sure many of you are familiar with me, Yasmin Razak, and I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator at the PTAC. Today, the webinar topic is Selling to the Government in 2022, and it is led by the Maryland PTAC team. We will get started very shortly. I'd appreciate it if you could all mute yourselves, please, unless you're a panelist. Please do mute yourselves so that we can have very little interference if possible. So thank you for that. Okay, we're going to do this event a little bit differently to what you're perhaps used to, in that I will be doing an introduction to the team. And then we are going to have the panels answer questions based on the survey that I did with you guys last year. I asked you all your opinions on government contracting and what you would like to learn about. And so they will be answering those questions today. We will also be pausing in the middle of the event to listen to some client success stories that I hope will inspire you. And today, I'd like to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and that live transcription is available on request. The recording will be available probably by the end of today and on YouTube channel, and I will post the link in the chat box shortly. In the meantime, if you would like to introduce yourself in the chat box, that would be great, so we can start virtually getting to know each other. All right, for those of you who are not familiar with the Maryland PTAC, it is our mission to increase contracting activity between small businesses, prime government contractors, and local, state, and federal government. We do that by counseling, which is individual counseling and is completely free of charge to you. And we cover very many different areas of government contracting, as you can see on the screen, everything from marketing strategies to where to register, to where to look for bid opportunities and get assistance with your federal, local, and state goals. We also offer workshops, training, and outreach events, which I'm sure many of you have been able to take advantage of over the last 18 months or so. They are completely free to you. We do agency events, we do events with prime contractors, and of course we do classes that teach you strategies that you need to know about government contracting. And all our classes are featured on the training calendar on our website. So we do encourage you to participate in our events. And finally, we offer a bid match service via email where you can get access to hundreds of opportunities that are matched against your client profile. And we draw them from various sources. So it makes it easier for you. Instead of scrambling all over Google trying to find out about opportunities, they come to your inbox. And if you are interested in that, the link will be in the slides that I will send to you later today. Okay, well, let's get to it. So as you can see on here, we have almost a full team. Unfortunately, one of our members is out sick today, so we hope she makes a speedy recovery. So I'd like each of the panel members to briefly introduce themselves. We'll start with the director of the PTAC, Denise Warner. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Yasmin. Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much for attending our annual roundtable. My name is Denise Warner. I am the director of the Maryland PTAC. I've been with the Maryland PTAC for 12 years. When I first came, I thought I'd be there for 1 or 2, and it's turned into 12, primarily because of my love and commitment to small businesses and the growth of small businesses in the federal workspace. I just want to quickly say to you that the US federal government is the largest consumer in the world. They spend more than $650 billion each year. And so we want to make sure here at the PTAC that we get you involved in some of that government spending. Additionally, President Biden has signed into order Executive Order 13985, which I would suggest that each of you read. It's his policy regarding advancing equity among small businesses. He has increased the small business SBD goal, is increased to 11% for FY22. It was 5% in FY21, and he hopes that it will increase to 15% by FY25. He is also hoping to increase the number of new entrants or people entering to the federal marketplace and reverse the decline in the small business supplier base. So just some key points for you to take away from this roundtable today. Please read that executive order and know that you as small businesses are needed within the government marketplace.
Thank you, Denise, for that information. Okay, Richard, you're up next.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Richard Payton. I'm a procurement specialist. I've been with PTAC for about 7 years. And I want to just mention that it's been very exciting and rewarding. I don't know the total number of clients I have that have been really successful, but I'm sure it represents more than 50% of them. So you can do it too, is my point, right? So one of the things I do want to mention to you is that people tend to think of federal contracting. We certainly help with federal contracting, and the goals Denise was mentioning were focused on federal contracting. But you can also start at the state level or at the county level. And at the county level and the state level, there's a lot less competition. As a matter of fact, they prefer to do what are called piggyback contracts. I'm not going to get into a big speech right now, but I do want to mention to you that we're much more than just federal contracting. And most of my clients really start off as a subcontractor and then mature from there. So I'll turn it over to whoever Monica would like next.
Okay, thanks, Richard. And Monica Randall is our next panelist.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Maryland PTAC's annual roundtable. It's been a morning. You know, I woke up this morning and it was, what am I going to do today? And that's help small business. Anything and everything that I can do to assist you in entering the state, local, city, county, or federal space, that's what we do here. And I've been doing that type of work for a little bit over 30 years, 23 with the Small Business Administration. It's a love and a passion, and today's roundtable should be great. So hit us with whatever questions you have, in addition to those that Yasmin will bring up, and we're just here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. And I'd like to introduce the newest member of the Maryland PTAC team, and that is Akeisha Foster. Hi, Akeisha.
Hey, Yasmin. Hey, everyone. Yes, I am the newest member to the team. I started last year and it's been wonderful, you know, getting to learn a lot about all the small business because part-time, I am an Army reservist as a contract specialist in the military. So coming on the other side has been a very good adventure. I'm learning a lot, and hopefully I'll be able to help small business to really excel and to really understand local, state, and federal agencies, because I have worked in the MIC, Mission Installation Contracting Command, and DISA, and that's to just make sure I understand what it is that you're looking for, so that way I can make sure when we complete our action plan, we have a good winning opportunity to really just show you how to win contracts. And thank you, everyone. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Akeisha. And last but not least is Pam. Pam has been with us on and off over the years, and we welcome her back also. Hi, Pam. We don't seem to be able to hear you, Pam. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Yes, says I'm like that bad penny that keeps showing up, but in a good way. I have been in government contracting for 30 plus years. I started out in government contracting as an employee for big companies, manufacturing companies like IT manufacturing companies, as well as software vendors. I later started my own company. I had an IT government contracting business for over 25 years. And I've been in the space. I volunteer in the space in a lot of different ways as well, like with local chamber and things of that nature. So I can tell you, I was you, and at times I am you. And so I love doing what I do. I also support the veteran community with helping them get their veteran verification process taken care of.
Well, thank you to all the panelists. We do appreciate you have very, very busy schedules. So this is a really important event for our clients. And I just want to say thanks again to all of you for taking time to do this today. All right, well, let's get into it. First question, I'd like to pose this one to Monica. What does a typical counseling session look like? And how can the PTAC help me win my first contract?
So a typical counseling session is, it's usually an initial, so it's about 30 minutes long, and it's more of a get to know. So me to get to know you, a little bit about you personally, your business, if you want to share that, your business, any challenges, obstacles, anything that is on your plate that you want to take care of, like immediately or within the next 30 days. So that's the initial. We just kind of lay things out and determine what the need is. And then I offer some professional advice on what I think that you should do, what your next step should be. And I'm very detail oriented. So I'll usually send you an action plan that says, hey, this is what we discussed, and here are the things I need you to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Any links that are useful, I will include those. Any templates I have that you can utilize, such as for a capability statement, I include that as well. And again, that's your 30-minute initial. After that, we have what's called a follow-up session. Those sessions are 1 hour in length. So now you're getting homework done that I've assigned you, and we're ready to really roll up our sleeves and dive deep. And those follow-on sessions are, we can have as many as you need. So at Maryland PTAC, there is no limit on the number of counseling sessions that we can have together. I just personally need them to be relevant. So if I give you homework, I have an expectation that that homework gets done before you schedule the next meeting, not schedule the meeting to tell me that you didn't do the homework. So again, I'm a big stickler about that because we don't want to waste time. We want to get things outlined, tasks completed, and things accomplished so we can move on to the next phase. And that's my response to that, Yasmin.
Thank you, Monica. Would any of the other counselors like to chime in? Do you add or do anything slightly differently? I'd appreciate to get your input.
Well, the only thing I would mention is Monica covered it really, but I want to highlight it. We don't have a form template. We go down A, B, C, D. We listen to what your situation is and we try to apply what we can to help you be successful. It's not, a textbook answer. So we're very tailored counseling.
That's correct.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So that's important to know because it's not a cookie cutter program. We do obviously ask a lot of initial questions in your initial counseling session, just so that we know what we're working with. But other than that, it is custom tailor-made for your needs and your goals. So that's something to bear in mind. Okay, next question, and this one will be for Akeisha. What is the best way for a new business to gain past performance? Now, this question, I have to say, as the webinar host, is probably the #1 question I get on every single webinar. So what say you, Akeisha?
Okay, everyone. So what I always recommend is to start off as a subcontractor, learning how the government marketplace is already hard enough. So it's important to position yourself in a way that you can have a competitive advantage. And also starting off in the local or state area too, because if you bid on a contract that you're not ready for, then we're just going to terminate you. You know what I'm saying? And as a contract specialist, I have terminated small businesses who were not ready. They went after prime contracts. They were not ready. We sent the notice, please perform, please do this work. They still could not perform the work. So then I was forced to have to terminate the contract. So the best way to get started, I feel, is to gain that past performance, is to start off as a subcontractor so you can really learn the language, learn what is expected of you, not have to have all of the responsibility for the entire contract at the beginning. So that way you will work with the prime contractor to see if they can, maybe they will show you the ropes, or you'll learn the ropes with them, and then you've worked on a couple of subcontracting opportunities, and then you feel comfortable, then start going for prime opportunities. But to gain past performance, we need to see relevant work for similar. So if you're doing janitorial, I need to see some kind of janitorial past performance. And that's my question. I don't want to get too deep into it.
Thanks, Akeisha. Anyone else on the panel want to chime in on that?
Hi, this is Monica.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Pam, do you want to go first? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Monica.
Now, I was just going to add, that was an excellent response. I was just going to add, also, you want to partner up. So sometimes we can't do things on our own. You know, we can't manage the contract. We can't fund the contract. We can't oversee the contract. We don't have the appropriate personnel. We don't have the financial backing or existing lines of credit or bank loans. So we may need to partner up with someone that's bigger, better, stronger. And those types of situations, it can lead to you being the sub or you being the prime, but yet you're being supported by the partner. And you can also formalize joint ventures. So there are many different creative ways for you to enter the government space and not need to do all the work yourself and need to manage the contract all by yourself. So you want to develop those partnerships. And no, we here at Maryland PTAC cannot partner you with anyone. I'm pretty sure that's probably your next question. So we don't do that here. So we can't find you a partner that would be the best fit for you. Partners are found through relationships. So who do you currently have a relationship with? Who are you familiar with? Who are you willing to go down the road of a contract being awarded to you and you can live with each other and not kill each other during the term of the contract? That's really the key to a true partnership. So I want you to really start to build those. And please don't try to go find a partner for an opportunity that you found yesterday. Partnerships can take years to develop. So start to work on that now. So when the need arises, then you can tap into that existing relationship. Thank you.
One of the things is that past performance is not always required. So that's one of the things you got to first, when you're looking at an opportunity, is that one of the requirements? And even that is based on the FAR 15 exactly. That's one of the FARs you really need to pay attention to, because if you ever looked at the FAR, it looks like one of those old family Bibles. It's a huge book, but you have to identify some of the FARs that you need to understand. And FAR 15 is one of them that talks about past performance and when it counts and when it doesn't, and when it can be manipulated based on getting a subcontractor, having the past performance. Say you go work with a large subcontractor, because I worked with a lot of large subcontracts and subcontracted to them just because my past work experience had been, I worked for the Oracles and the Dex and the Sybases back in the day when I was doing it. So I had relationships there and I could get them to be subcontracting. So that made it easy. But always, it's not always that past performance, that's easy for them to recognize their past performance because they know of them.
Okay, thank you for those really detailed answers. All right, our next question. This one is something that's currently in the news because of the executive order from President Biden about the new $15 minimum wage rule. So what should I be doing to prepare for it? For this new $15 minimum wage rule for federal contractors, which starts January 30th. Pam, if you'd like to weigh in on that.
Sure. The thing you need to understand is what is the requirement exactly. If you are a micro business, you generally don't have to worry with that specifically because it's for people who have 15 or more employees in general. So if you have that, then you have to, based on the contract, if you already have a contract and that was not a requirement in the contract, if it gets, when it gets renewed, that will be adjusted. You have to readjust a lot of things. So you need to be aware of where you fit in that. And if you're growing a company, you might have started out with not meeting that max. And if you grow it well, you may be there and have to understand that you have to readjust as this thing, because it's kind of a fluid kind of thing. And I'm sure that it will change We've had requirements before, like the Davis Bacon requirements for payment and things like it, or salaries and stuff like that. So it's not a new thing that the government is telling you how much. It's always had minimum wage kind of rules and regulations. The thing of it is does it apply to you at the time that you get your contract? Are you seeing the potential growth that you could outgrow the fact that you don't have to adhere to that? And there's tons of information out there. And I'll drop a link in to some good information about that new requirement.
Yes, that would be very helpful if you could post that in the chat box. So thank you for that. And obviously this is new for everybody. So keep in touch with your counselor, and obviously keep abreast of government contracting news that's published online to see what's coming ahead. All right, our next question, I'll open this to all of the panelists. How do I find the right prime to subcontract to and convince them to put me on their team? I know we'd mentioned subcontracting earlier on, so this is asking about a specific strategy to win them over so that your business is considered the right one. Anyone like to speak on that?
Sure, I'll do it. So it isn't like looking at a whole bunch of company names and then spinning the bottle and saying, this is the one I'm going to call on. It's the other way around. You need to be aware of what's going on at a particular agency, federal, state, or local, or even in a private business, and know what's going on there and how you've developed a relationship with a client and they like you and you know them and you know what their problems are. It could be as simple as moving from PeopleSoft or from Salesforce version 7.4 to 9, something like that the incumbent contractor doesn't have experience doing. So once you know what the client needs and what the client wants, and you've talked to them, you can call anybody, okay? Doesn't matter what their name is, and say, good morning, Mr. Smith, I'm giving you a call today because I got your name and number from the name of the client, and they think I could add a lot of value, could be very valuable on your contract because they need assistance with this. If you say that, I almost guarantee you, which you can't guarantee, but it's highly likely, they will say to you, do you have time for lunch tomorrow? Because you are bringing them business. If you're calling them and saying, hey, I know you got a whole bunch of contracts and I'd like to get some money from them, you're going to be told, we have a small business event coming up in 2 months. We look forward to seeing you there. So the main way to pick out a subcontractor is to, number one, I would say, know who the leading contractors are at the agency where you found some business or have some traction. After you know something, give them a call. And I was in that position where people would call me. And I got to tell you, the main thing I heard in that whole thing was, holy cow, the client likes this guy. The last thing I want is for this guy to be in my competitor's team, because you never want that as a prime contractor. So take that advice, try to leverage what you know from an agency, approach a prime contractor who's got a good standing or recommended to you by the agency. You know?
One of the things that in my years as a government contracting
Can you turn your volume up? It's much better.
That was better?
Much better.
Okay. Yeah, like one of the things that I did was, as Monica said, it's about relationships. I had some really great relationships down at Pax River. So people came to me because they knew of my relationships, and I had relationships even the bigger companies didn't have. So when I got into the mentor protege program, they came to me because they knew of my relationships with basically the CIO and the deputy CIO down at Pax River. So sometimes it's like anything else. We forget sometimes that people in the agencies or whatever, that they are people. They act like people do. They do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you get to do that. And it's challenged now with this virtual world we're in, but you can even, I don't know, I've really felt engaged often with my clients just in this virtual space. I've gotten some really good friend interaction with my clients, whether it be here at PTAC or some of the other business engagements I've had. So you got to make those relationships. You got to be seen as a person that they want to do business with.
And I would like to add one little thing too. Also, when you're searching for that prime, you utilize those public sources that we have, the, dynamic small business search, and look at those agencies, see what capabilities they have, and then what capabilities you could bring to convince them to want to work with you as well. So when you go in there and you're looking at it, the DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search, you go in there and you see all that information, put together a plan of how are you going to contact that prime contractor too, because you have to do your research too. Make sure you research them very much so that way you don't come in and then get a surprise, because you'll know exactly what you're looking for and exactly what you bring. So that's a very good portal to find prime contractors as well.
Hi, it's Monica. I just want to add a small, everything that was just said is right on spot. It's definitely exactly what you should do. I'm going to take you back before any of that occurs. And that is, how do I know what prime I should even reach out to? I'm a data-driven kind of person. So the data drives what I do or what I don't do. So if I'm looking to do business with Food and Drug Administration, but I have no idea under my NAICS code 541611, what primes were actually awarded contracts within that NAICS code that I might want to even reach out to, I have to start there first. So I have to do what Richard said, what Pam said, what Akeisha said, all that needs to get done. But what if I'm at that early stage where I really have no idea who the prime is? So there's a database called usaspending.gov. And I've just placed that into the chat, where you can go to that database and look at all previously awarded contracts for the federal government only. This database also gives you, because you're searching by your NAICS code. It could be a primary NAICS code, or it could be one of your secondaries. This database, once you select the query and you hit enter and that report populates on your screen, it's going to give you a list of every prime that was awarded the contract within the NAICS codes in which you conduct business. That is where you start if you don't have a list of what primes actually operate in your space. Then from there, do everything Richard said, everything that Akeisha said, everything that Pam said. But again, if you don't have the list, that's your starting point, is to get that research done and get that data done. Then start to build your relationships. And then last comment is, you are not the only game in town. There are thousands of other companies that do what you do. So when you come and you approach me, Richard said, have maybe an opportunity in hand. Well, that's true. And you want to be careful with that, because if you don't have them under an NDA, they could take the opportunity that you bring to the table and run with it without you. Great idea, but you need to make sure you get some other things in place before you start releasing information about the opportunities that you found, which you want to present to them. Again, if you're not under an NDA, they have no obligation to you. So again, there's some layers. It's like an onion. There are some layers in there that you've got to take care of some other things before you go opportunity in hand. But I initially get the list for the federal side, at least, know which primes are actually operating in the same space that you are. From that list, look and see what their contract awards are, anything that you might be highly interested in. And then from there, start to look for work on your own. But before discussions, get that NDA in place. And then just start to build a relationship, which will take time. It's a dating process, but you can do it.
Wow, some great answers there. Thank you all. And we did have a good question in the chat box because a couple of you had mentioned the dynamic small business search, and somebody says, what is that? Can somebody like to briefly define what that is?
I can, because I love the dynamic small business search. I use it and I help my clients use it as business intelligence. First of all, you get to see who your competition is. You get to see how do they sell themselves. It's a marketing tool for you to the government, but you get to see how your competition based on NACE codes and information product service codes and similar things, how do they present themselves? I don't think you should have to reinvent the wheel when you're defining and describing yourself. Sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out, well, what do I say about myself? That narrative, that elevator pitch, that's important. That's where, when they generate a list of say the procuring people generate a list of small businesses I want to check out, that list will come up and you'll see probably 80% of them that don't have a capability narrative. If I was a person looking for people, I would say you didn't even do enough to make yourself known to me. I got to go through push buttons and go deeper to be able to even just to get the limited information about you. So that narrative is very important. So it's a good marketing tool for you to market yourself to the government. And that's the first place they go when they're looking for opportunities to for small business. When they do looking to see, do we have at least 2 small businesses that can do this work? That's where they go. So you want to make sure that your information is there on point and great information, even stuff like, because like 80% or more of the data comes from SAM. It's like an affiliate database to SAM. So they take your base information from SAM, put it in a dynamic small business search, because they know you are a small business based on the information you put in SAM. You put in information about your revenue, you put in information about your number of employees, you pick NACE codes, and based on your NACE codes, the size of your company and that information, they can identify you as a small business. So and they can identify you as a small woman-owned business, a small HUBZone business, whatever your set-asides are. That's like the Google for the government people to find information about you.
Thanks, Pam. And also Keisha's put a link in the chat box so you can click directly to it and learn more about that on there. Okay, let's move on. So our next question, what does it mean to be HUBZone certified and how do I get qualified? Richard, would you like to handle this one?
So HUBZone is sort of a tricky one in a way. And the issue is they use a term, primary place of business. That is not where your business is located. It's where you have the most employees. I happen to know from a lot of experience in Oklahoma that many of the companies are headquartered on Wisconsin Avenue in Washington, Maryland. They're headquartered there. Their work is being done in Oklahoma. The whole state is a HUBZone. So getting into it, you just have to be aware. You can go after it. You just have to always be aware of where your principal place of performance is the main place. Also, you're supposed to have 35% of your employees live and or work in a HUBZone. The current HUBZone program has become quite liberal. So one of the things they're doing is you may have 2 employees out of 20 employees in the HUBZone at the time you get a contract award, but they will ask you about it and you will say, but under this contract, I'm going to have to hire 5 more people or 6 more people. And when those people come on board, I will not only achieve, but exceed the 35% goal for the whole company. So don't feel bad about that. It's flexible. The other thing about the HUBZone program is this. You don't want to really look for HUBZone set-asides. And the reason I'm saying that is the main advantage that HUBZones have is they get a 10% cost evaluation advantage, preference. So if they're bidding against a large company and the large company's price is 100 and their price is 99. Now this would only occur, okay, with that large business, if it's a full and open competition. So it's not being HUBZone says that. So one business has $100, yours is 109, they subtract 10, your price becomes 99. That doesn't mean you win. That just means that you score higher points in the cost evaluation part of it. But if you compete HUBZone against HUBZone, it nullifies the whole benefit because you both get the 10% advantage. So I would use a HUBZone if you're strong at doing proactive marketing and trying to get people to put things set aside as a stay out of the HUBZone, proactive marketing, and talk to them and sell yourself, and then you can go forward and bid it as a HUBZone. You need to speak with the contracting officer beforehand or the small business program people and say, how does your agency want me to clarify that I'm a HUBZone company and I'm eligible for the 10% cost advantage? I've had companies who were HUBZone who didn't get it. And when they went for a debrief, they said, oh, well, we didn't know you were a HUBZone. So they're not going to just look it up and give it to you. Okay, you've got to tell them that you are and that you're qualified. So anybody can register to become a HUBZone. It's relatively easy registration. The program is pretty responsive, and they have a hotline every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3 o'clock, where people who are interested in eligibility can call and ask questions. After the meeting, we'll send you the 800 number, and it's 800 number and the passcode. So any other questions, please ask. But HUBZone is a good program if you know how to work it.
All right. Thank you, Richard. That was great. And as Richard said, if you've got any further questions on that, then you can get some more information during your next counseling session. Okay, now we're going to take a brief pause in the presentation, and we're going to chat to two of our clients who have been very successful. They have two success stories, and they're both very different businesses. And we just wanted to give you a real life example of what we do here at the PTAC, how it affects people's lives and businesses, and perhaps give you a little bit of inspiration. So today we're going to chat briefly to John Graham, who is the Managing Director of Sullivan Cove Consultants, LLC. And then we will speak to Lakeisha Claxton, who is a CEO of Homeland Custodial Services. So let's start with John. Hi, John, if you'd like to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. As I listen, I'm the Managing Director of Sullivan Cove Consultants, and as I listen to this roundtable, I am reminded of how much wisdom comes out of the folks who've been talking earlier. We go back to Sullivan Cove was formed in 2003, so we've been around for 18 years. We first went to PTAC in 2005. And it's been a continuing relationship that we've had with PTAC. Arsenio has been a godsend to us throughout that period. Most recently, she helped us. We are a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, and she helped us with an issue that we had that, frankly, CVE of the Veterans Administration sent us to her to work through an issue having to do with options on our shares. And as usual, she walked us through the jungle and got us out on the other end. Now, Yasmin, I can talk for an hour, but I won't bore everybody with that. I can talk a little bit about our company if you'd like that.
Yeah, John, I'd just like to say thanks for agreeing to do this. And John has been modest. He runs a multidisciplinary professional services firm that practices in federal and commercial sectors in Savannah Park. And he has, like you said, he's been with the PTAC for nearly a decade, so one of our longest served clients. And he has won many large federal contracts. And up to the largest dollar value was with the Department of Justice of $617 million. And as he said, he's been assisted by VA certified counselor Arthenia LaFleur, who unfortunately is not able to be with us today. And so I just wanted to find out from you, John, if you could just briefly share with the audience how the PTAC has helped you grow and succeed in government contracting, because your resume is very impressive.
Well, I would tell you one of my mottos is it's better to be lucky than good, but it's better to be lucky and good at the same time. Our first contract was just over $5,000 in 2003. One of the questions was, how do you compile your past performance? And clearly, past performance is absolutely key to everything that we do. My advice is to pay attention to your differentiators. If you have a differentiator, and we have several, that puts you in a different classification with the partners that you partner with. We've had approximately 50 awards in the federal sector. We also work in the state sector and in the local sector. But in 90% of those, we've had partners. In 80% of our contracts, we've been prime. We've just been lucky, I think, to do that. But the position is really keyed by your differentiators. How do you differ from your competition? If I put my finger on 2 or 3 of those, I'm a Vietnam vet. We are a service disabled veteran business. You either have that one or you don't. We are also a minority business, and that's another one that you either have or you don't. Getting certification is important. The third thing that's been very important to us, and this arises out of counseling that we've had at PTAC, are the GSA schedules. And I would say that more than 50% of the contracts we've gotten have been off of the GSA schedules. So if you want to spend, it does take time to do that. If you spend that time and get on the GSA schedules, that is a real bridge to the federal contracting. Thirdly, what I heard on this session, I think is absolutely true. And that is sitting beside our computer screens is one thing, and COVID has changed that quite a bit. But this is a personal business. And personal relationships with your employees, with your partners, with folks at PTAP and other organizations, and with your customers, your customers in the government is absolutely essential. Telephone calls are okay, but if you can do it face to face at all, that's really important. I think when COVID passes, we'll go back to the stage where we have industry days. And industry days, I would recommend that all of us go to as many industry days as we can, because that's a face-to-face opportunity that you don't get otherwise. Yasmin, I'll exit this with one word that I got from practicing law before Sullivan Cove was formed. And it was, one of my partners said, you've got to pay attention to the 50-48 rule. And that the 50 is that 50% of your business comes from people you see within the last 48 hours. You've got to see the customers, because customers are people, and you've got to show the customers that you're a person too. If there's one piece of a key to success, it's been getting out, seeing people, shaking hands, and talking, because that's the only way you can really show that your interest, that my interest, that everyone's interest is the same as what the agencies are looking for in their contracting. I'll take any questions anybody's got.
No, not at this time, John. Thank you so much. And I love that 50-48 rule to live by. Very, very insightful. So thanks again, John, for sharing your story with us. Okay, the next success story is going to be Lakeisha Claxton, who is the CEO of Homeland Custodial Services. Lakeisha, if you'd like to unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Yasmin. Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Okay, well, a brief introduction for Lakeisha. She was recently awarded a government contract to provide janitorial services to the Navy in Okinawa, Japan. Lakeisha has won several large contracts over the years and has been with the Maryland PTAC since 2014. She works with her counselor, Richard Payton, on her contracting goals. Lakeisha incredibly started out as a bus driver and now wins multi-million-dollar government contracts. So very impressive again. So Lakeisha, you've had quite the career journey, starting as a bus driver and now successfully running a minority-owned business in Maryland and offering your services as far-flung as Japan. Could you tell us a little about how the PTAC helped you on this journey and what it's meant to you and your business?
Well, Yasmin and everyone, it's just been amazing. I met Mr. Payton in 2014, and I would come to Mr. Payton with like all these different ideas. He never looked at me like I was crazy. And I still come to him with that. I this is the same thing. I come to him and I say, oh, Mr. Payton, I want to do this. and I want to do that. And he always has some good advice about those things that I come to him with, because I'm always coming to him with something. And so when I told him, I said, Mr. Payton, I want to go to Japan. He was like, okay, Lakeisha. And so we worked on a BPA for COVID cleaning. So we had gotten certified to do COVID cleaning. And I said I wanted COVID to take me around the world. And so there were multiple BPAs for different bases and things like that. And so I just began to put them in. And I said, I began with New York, with West Point, and I won there. And then I said, well, Mr. Payton, I want to go somewhere else. And then, and actually in West Point, that was just a source of sort. Mr. Payton taught me always to put your company out there in a source of sort. So actually, I didn't even bid on the BPA for West Point. I actually got a notification that, congratulations, Lakeisha, you have a BPA for this, straight from just a source of sort. And then I said, okay, well, there's one in Hawaii. I want to do that. So I go and I tell Mr. Payton about it. I'm like, I'm so excited, Mr. Payton. I can't wait to go get my lay and go to Hawaii. So that's what we do. We went and go there. And then I come back to him, not even a month later, and I say, I want to go to Japan. Do that. And we win the BPA there at Yokota Air Base in Tokyo. So then I say, well, I really want to be in Japan, like on a full-time thing. I don't want to just go for just COVID. So then we look at an opportunity in Okinawa, which is, Okinawa is nowhere near Tokyo. It's just completely in a whole nother part of Japan. It has been so challenging, but I have had Mr. Payton to help me with these different things, because it's a total different way of doing everything. And because he's so knowledgeable, he has been able to help me. And not only have we been able to do the job there and are doing a really good job, we've actually decided to begin to produce our own products. So now we produce toilet paper and paper towels that we're going to sell to Defense Commissary Agency in the Sea of Japan and in local areas there. So, I mean, Mr. Payton is very invaluable to me. I just really, really appreciate his knowledge and his experience and his understanding of me, because I am all over the place all of the time. So sometimes he has to talk me down, which I need. I need to be talked down sometimes, because I told him I wanted to build fences in the middle of nowhere for BLM, Bureau of Land Management. I haven't done it yet, but I still plan on doing it. And so that's just the kind of experience. So it's really not a cookie cutter. It's very, very to the person. And that's what I really, really like about working with Mr. Payton.
Thank you, Lakeisha. Your story is incredible. I'm sure everyone can agree. Richard, if you just want to chime in briefly, what it was like working with Lakeisha and seeing her achieve her dreams.
Sure, I'll be happy to. One of the things that Lakeisha passed over sort of quickly is that Lakeisha works 16 hours a day. And this is not a part-time passion for her. She's totally dedicated to it. And it's not like writing proposals. It takes a lot of effort to manage all the people that she has, all the janitorial staff and the supervisors. She's gone so far as to buy a house in Japan because it's cheaper to house people in your own home than they pay for hotel rooms. So she's really, worked hard, and I want people to know that you can do it, but it takes effort and you need to leverage your past performance. And that's what's done it for her. She left out West Point, and she left out TSA, and she left out a whole bunch of other places. But one of the things about TSA, she came in one day and said, well, Mr. Payton, I want to go after this opportunity. I said, well, cool, where is this? Well, it's TSA's remote islands in the Pacific. I said, TSA's remote islands in the Pacific. How are we going to do this? Oh, no problem. I can find the staff. And she did. She did. And she got that contract. So it's not like you fill out a compliant RFP and submit a proposal. You have to come up with a win theme. And the win theme is, why are you better than other people? Okay. And that's what she's really good at, recruiting and putting together win themes. So congratulations, Lakeisha.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lakeisha, and thanks, Richard, for that. I think it's really important to highlight our client successes, no matter how small or large, because it shows that it's achievable and that you should never give up on your dream, and to use an excellent resource like the PTAC. So yes, we're blowing our own trumpet a little bit there, but I think it's well deserved to see small businesses be successful. So thank you again to both of our clients. Okay, and moving on, now we are going to go to the next question. I'm a veteran. How do I find state and federal opportunities for my business? Pam, let's start with you.
Okay.
And Pam, if you'd like to move closer to the screen,
Yeah,
because I
okay.
find that we can hear you better then. Thanks.
Is that better? Is that better, yes?
Yes.
Okay. You find opportunities when I talk to, and I think most of us talk to our clients, we tell them target about 3 agencies, because it's a big, huge world. And even one agency, say you were looking at NIH or something, that's like thousands of people in there that you could talk to. So you want to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself and trying to go here, there, running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So you got to identify who buys what you sell, and who also, you can look at the who has made their goals, say with veteran-owned businesses and stuff like that. That's a good place to look at it. You can find out that they're making it, but you can also look at it on the flip side too, who's not made their goals in government with the veteran community or whatever the other communities are. That's how I look at it. You can, it's the flip of the coin. There's always a good answer no matter what side. Depends on you picking that side at the right time. So obviously you wanted to do the VA and look at VA opportunities. And that's just the start. But then with what you do based on your NACE codes, understanding the product service codes that people are doing, looking at past opportunities. I like using the Federal Procurement Data System.gov site, fpds.gov, to do like the business intelligence and research. You can find out what small businesses have got, what veteran-owned businesses have gotten contracts. You get to see on the right-hand side, the top 10 agencies that have done based on your filter, your query, and then you can then narrow it down by looking at stuff like, obviously you may want to be looking at stuff just in the Maryland area. You may want to look at stuff based on this NACE code or this product service code. You can create that query or that filter to be able to pull in the data so that it's manageable. If not, if you just put out a NACE code, it's going to give you so many numbers that it's overwhelming and you're feeling like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? The other thing that you get in the FPDS data is that not only do you get who are the top agencies that buy what you sell, you also see who your competition is. You see what businesses that are like yourself has already gotten business. You get to see when you go deeper into the view of the information, how many people even, how many offers did they even receive? Some of them, it will say 1 because it's a base year kind of thing. They're getting the base year and then moving on to the option years, the option year kind of thing. So that's one why you might have 1, but sometimes it's the first one and they still only have 1 or 2 or 3. And I like to show my clients that so that they'll feel like, wow. And so if that one could get it, or if those three applied, you could have been the fourth one in it, and your differentiator might have been one that got you the win. So you got to identify who buys what you sell. You got to look at opportunities based on if you are in a service area that they're like 5-year cycles on the on contracts. You can look and see that the 5 years is soon to be up sometime this year or next year. You want to start making those connections, making those relationships with the agencies that do the work or buy the products that you sell. And it's about creating a kind of like a daily mode of operation, or how are you going to be targeting, how are you going to look at the information, and how you're going to synthesize it. I often laugh at the whole idea in sports today is, especially football, stat that. I'm a data person. So, and when I first started, I was a nerd. Everybody thought I was, oh, she just does data. And when I first got into the industry, I would tell people, you want to do data because the software changed like every week, but the data is ultimately what you need to know. So you need to get a good relationship with gathering data, understanding and synthesizing it so that you can identify the right opportunities to go after. And you can even find the right partners. You can find in the state level, you got Maryland has the SBIR, Small Business Reserve. They set up opportunities that's strictly for small businesses to prime. They have a veteran-owned set aside for businesses. State of Maryland is at 1% right now, and they're just getting started and things of that nature. So there's a lot of things out there to look at and work with.
Thank you for that detailed answer, Pam. And just to remind you that we do have 2 VA certified counselors on the PTAC team. So if you are a veteran and you need assistance with government contracting, then you know who to come to. Okay, let's move on then to the next question. I have a prototype for an invention. How can I get grants in SBIR or STTR? Richard, this one's for you. You might want to unmute yourself, Richard.
Okay. Did you like the first part? Here's the second part. Okay. So the SBIR and STTR programs are recurring programs that every agency that does over $100 million in research, provides. So you can go on anytime and look and see what SBIR programs are available. One that I like to suggest to people is look at Department of Energy, because there's a phase 1, phase 2, and a phase 3 to an SBIR. But Energy came up with a phase 0. And phase 0 is a year course that you go to, not every day or anything like that, but it progresses over a year. And it tells you all about how to obtain grants and contracts for research from the Department of Energy. So maybe I passed over one thing. SBIRs and STTRs are research programs for innovative research. SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research, STTR, Small Business Technology Transfer. So it doesn't work if you've got an idea and you're looking for supplemental funding, it's where you've got a new idea. One of the examples of new ideas that's been an outstanding success is your cell phone. So it wasn't Michael Jobs coming up with the cell phone. It was the guy who figured out the little component in there that finds every cell tower so you have continuous communication. He knew about that problem because he was aware that they were doing that in Europe, and brought over to DARPA, which is one of the participants, Department of Defense, and discussed it with him. It took him 10 years to figure it out, and they funded him all the time with a grant to do it. So the difference between SBIR, they are contracts you work and then you bill. STTRs, they're grants. You get the money up front and then you do the work and you come back for more money. Usually both programs start out rather modest because the first step is really to write a position paper. And then after that, you take the position paper and you can get like a phase 1 and a phase 1A and a phase 1B, and it can go up to $250,000 incremental funding. But then when you're ready to get into actually developing something, that becomes your phase 2. And so I'd be happy to tell you more about it, tell you about the 13 agencies that participate. As I said, I like the Department of Energy. Another good one is the State Department, because when you, or excuse me, not state, but National Science Foundation. And one of the things about National Science Foundation, they'll meet with you at any time, okay? And the science transitions all agencies. So if you have an idea, they may point you to another agency where they have a strong interest in it. So those would be two to start with. But we do have regular walk-in SBIR discussions at 8:30 in the morning, from 8:30 to 9, and then from 9 to 9:30. And you're welcome to sign up for it. I only talk to one client at a time, and I can share with you all 13 agencies. But it's a mistake to tell you 13 agencies, because one of those agencies is DHS, Department of Health and Human Services. Well, duh, under that, there's a little guy called NIH. Well, NIH alone has 23 institutes, okay? And not all of those institutes have SBIRs or STTRs, but most of them do. And they're occurring all the time. So it's not like one particular time. So if you got a really great innovative research idea, you can go for it. It does not require past performance. It does require working with an institution, a nonprofit institution, STTRs in particular, like the University of Maryland or any other university, but it's seldomly given to a single person with a great idea. So any other questions, don't hesitate to contact us or contact me, and I'll be happy to give you, the whole presentation.
Thank you, Richard. And as Richard said, we do have an SBIR STTR program at the PTAC, and you can sign up for counseling on our website, or obviously you can register on our training calendar for classes. I will be scheduling more classes for 2022. So thank you again. Okay, next question. This one is for Monica. How can I find out about procurement forecasts and industry days?
It's actually quite simple. Everything is on that particular federal agency or state agency's website that you've identified. So as Pam and I both have mentioned, we're data driven. So once you formalize your list of what state agencies or primes or federal agencies that you want to do business with, you want to start by doing something very simple, and that's visit their website. And while you're there, any and everything you ever wanted to know about that potential partner, customer, et cetera, is going to be right in front of you. And that's something that, even though it's the simplest thing to do, we fail to do it. So we start emailing people asking questions that can be answered by simply visiting their website to learn more about them, who they are, what they do, their procurement forecast, if they have one, because that's an optional thing for any state agency or federal agency to provide to us. It's not mandatory that I release my forecast to you. But if I do have one, you're going to find it on my company website. If I have an upcoming event, a meet and greet, small business event, and any type of industry day, if I'm going to hold something like that, I'm going to promote it on my website. So that's always your first point, is to go there first. And then if you can't find it, then we can start emailing individuals to see if we can locate that information. But the procurement forecast is essential. This is what I anticipate as a prime or a federal agency or state agency. This is what I anticipate I will need in the future. With the procurement forecast, you must keep in mind, they're not contracts yet. They're just hopes and wishes and dreams of my future spending that I hope Congress approves. Some of these procurement forecast requirements that are listed may never be funded. Again, it just gives you a sneak peek into what I anticipate I will need in the future. And with those procurement forecasts, some agencies, whether state or federal, will tend to hold types of industry days or pre-bid meetings, et cetera, that are centered around that procurement forecast requirement. So this is so that you can attend that pre-bid meeting or any type of industry day where it speaks about that particular opportunity that we anticipate will come up in the future. You want to attend those meetings. They're vital. So you can see those who are operating in your space that may also want to bid on, they may be anticipating, I'm going to bid as well. There could be a partnership with someone that's also participating. That's a way for you to find that out. And lastly, you can ask questions. So that agency is holding that event so you can do what? So you can ask questions about that particular requirement that they anticipate will come out in the future. I like to call the procurement forecast my eat later. So as a company, I have my own business as well. That's my eat later. This is business I'm hoping to generate revenue on in the future. So I have to focus on eating later, and then beta.sam on the federal side is my eat now. So I'm always doing both. I need to eat now and I need to eat later. So when you look at procurement, it's not any one thing that you're doing. You're doing all of it at the exact same time. You're marketing, you're having outreach, you're keeping your website up to date, you're making sure your LinkedIn profile is good to go. All these things that you think are a la carte are actually should be going on at the exact same time. So if you're one where you're not a good multitasker, procurement will be a challenge for you, because you can't pick just one thing and focus. You must touch all of it on a continuous basis. And again, that procurement forecast is essential for whether or not your company will be able to generate revenue in the future. So you need to plan ahead and be monitoring and tracking those opportunities that the agency anticipates it will that may come out in the future. So until it becomes a contract, you should target it. You should attend pre-bid meetings, do whatever you need to do to stay in front of the customer in regards to that requirement, so you can do what? Be highly considered when it does come out. No guarantee there, but that's where the relationship building is housed, is at the procurement forecast level and not once it comes out to bid. And last comment is, you can't build a relationship with me once I put the opportunity out for bid. All you can do is submit a proposal like everyone else. If you truly wanted to build a relationship with me, learn all about it and really try to get in, that should have been done at the forecast level. So if you're one where you are always waiting for something to drop, to hit the street, you're going to always be behind the 8 ball. And that's my last comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica, for a great response. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. How do I stand out from my competition? Pam, would you like to tackle this one?
Sure. You stand out by showing up, first of all. And like Monica just said, you show up at those kind of events and stuff, you get to learn about the organization. You read a lot of the agencies have their strategic plans and stuff like that. One of the things that a lot of procuring people talk about, or contracting people talk about, is the fact that people show up and they haven't done their homework. Do your homework. That's how you target people, right? If you are, say, if I'm selling, I'm selling snow boots, I'm not going to sell them in a place where there's no snow. So I have to understand that that's what my client wants, and how they want it, how they had it in place in the past. So I might look at past contracts that they've had and look at those businesses that have gotten those contracts, see how they talk about it. Because if I've won an award with a nice agency, that's probably going to be somewhere on my website, so I can tell you, what I've done and how I've done it in a very marketing kind of thing, but you get to understand how they operate. And it's, again, it gets back to when you go out to buy a new car or whatnot, don't you do the homework on, oh, I want this type of car because it has this kind of capability and things like that. And so the people who get you to their showroom, they put something out there that got your attention. So when you're doing your capability statement, when you do your capability narrative, when you show up at the event, remember, you don't do a generic capability statement and just drag it around from event to event. You've done your homework before you go to industry days, virtually or otherwise, and you are speaking to what they're talking about right now. Because again, like Monica said, that stuff is all on the website. It's in, everybody has Facebook pages, the agencies, they have Twitter. So you have ways, it's very labor intensive. So some of the times you have to do what you have to do, you have to get up, and I've at times gotten up at 4:30 in the morning just to do stuff to be able to get things done so that I would be uninterrupted my household flow. And so that way I have that time to look at that stuff, gather the data and synthesize and say, okay, this is coming out. This is what they've had in the past. And if you can even try to determine, were they happy with the outcome and things of that nature, and stuff like that shows up. If you pay attention, you'll find out that a lot of information, and you just have to stay on point looking at that. So when you create, you don't want just a capability statement that looks like a resume, a 2-page resume. You want it to have images on it that speaks to what they're talking about. And again, it's like your resume. When you go in for a job, just because it says it's a programming job, with my IT background, but you just don't want to do a generic, yeah, I did code, say I did basic code back in 1950, something like that, whatever. It wasn't out at that point, but you don't want to just say it very generically. You want to do it based on what they're talking about at the time. And I mean, we have information overload, so we can't say we don't know anything about them. People are talking about what they're interested in, and you make sure that shows up in your marketing collateral.
Okay, thank you for that, Pam. All right, so we're going to keep moving. Please explain briefly what the steps are from applying for a contract to winning and getting paid, an A to Z. I like this one. Okay, Akeisha, would you like to explain this one for us?
Okay, so you briefly explain the, so once we apply for the contract, I would definitely make sure I stay on top of what's going on. And so when you want to know what's going on with the contract, and make sure you're checking the website several times to make sure there hasn't been any amendments. And then once you've checked the website to make sure there hasn't been any amendments, then you just want to keep up with it till once you submit it, then you're going to still continue to check back. And once you check back, and if you win or you don't win the contract, then you want to be able to just make sure that you are aware of all the Q&As, the questions and answers, the question and answers, the Q&A, the pre-bid meeting, and all those things that are in line with going for applying for the contract. And then once you get paid, then making sure that you're following the instructions for once you win the contract, then make sure you're following the instructions for the invoicing. Make sure you're invoicing correctly, so that way you can get paid the first time correctly. So, but to go more deep and in depth into applying for a contract and winning and get paid, it's just processes. And then once you learn the processes, and it will take longer for me to really explain to it, but that's just a basic overview of what it takes to apply. Then you have to monitor, and then you have to invoice correctly so you can get paid.
Thanks, Akeisha. We had a follow-up question in the chat box, which is, can you explain what is a pre-bid meeting?
Okay, well, the pre-bid meeting is the meeting that that offers to have questions and answer, because normally they'll send an email, the questions in, so that way we'll have those for the pre-bid meeting. I'm trying to say it in a not contracting way. I'll make sure I explain it in a more, understanding way. It's just a meeting that we use to really talk about the requirement. We're going to discuss everything about this requirement, some expectations. You can also, I think now that we're in person, some hybrid, before you were able to look at the site, you'll be able to do a site to see what was going on. If it was construction services, was a little bit different. So it's a meeting to discuss the requirement.
Okay, thanks so much for breaking it down for us, Akeisha. That was really helpful. Okay, so all right, we'll move on.
Before we go from that, the end of that is the debriefing, whether you win or lose, you should, if you can get a debriefing, because they'll let you know, well, this was really good, because you might have just been off a little bit. And that's how you do, you tweak and tweak. And even if you won, well, you find out what you really did quite well. So if you can get a debrief, you should always look for a debrief.
Hi, this is Monica. That's excellent, Pam. I'm glad you brought that up, even though we were discussing pre-bid meetings. So let's break it down just fairly quickly. So when a requirement is placed on the procurement forecast, a pre-bid meeting sometimes will occur. Not every procurement forecast requirement mandates a pre-bid meeting. It's an optional thing, okay? It's not in FAR that every time I put something on my procurement forecast, I am legally required to hold a pre-bid meeting. Not true at all. If I feel like one is needed, because I feel like it's going to be a big requirement, we're getting a lot of questions, and I think we should just hold something where we can get everyone in the same space so we can talk about it. This is before it comes out. So what Pam is discussing is after the fact. Now it's no longer a pre-bid meeting. It's no longer a procurement forecast requirement. It has now become a contract. It's been put out for bid. You identified it. You wrote a proposal. You submitted it. And where does the debrief come in? You didn't win. So I agree with Pam 100,000%. When you don't win any type of opportunity that you've put all your heart and effort and passion into, you've either maybe outsourced it and paid someone to write that proposal and it didn't win, you need to find out why. So that's where the debrief comes in at. You always want to request a debrief. Keep in mind the time frame in which to do so is fairly short. So the minute that you receive notification you did not win, within that first 24 hours, you want to send that email saying, thank you for letting me know. I now would like to request a debrief so I can figure out what was wrong with my proposal submission. So as Pam mentioned, debriefs are so vital because you could ask your Maryland PTAC counselor, well, why do you think I didn't win? Hearing it from me is just not enough. You need to hear it from the very agency that did not accept it. Was it your pricing? Was it just overall the proposal just wasn't good? Did it look more like a cookie cutter where, that response wasn't really written for us? It's some other response that you wrote and you tried to tweak it or modify. They can identify a cookie cutter proposal in their sleep. Do not do that. When you write a proposal response, it should be tailored to me. When I read it, it should look like it was written for me. We have a bad habit of doing that copy and paste thing. And then we don't win and we keep using that same template over and over and over again. This is what Pam mentioned. That's where the debrief comes in at. Find out, for lack of a better way of saying, hear it from the horse's mouth. No one can tell you better why it didn't win. So you always want to request that debrief. But again, the window for that is like 24 to 48 hours. After that, you can forget it. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, and to all the panelists who weighed in on that. Obviously, a lot of great information on there. I hope that was helpful. Okay, moving on. What should I say during a 10-minute matchmaking session? For those of you who are not aware, a matchmaking session is when you get a small window of opportunity to sit one-on-one and speak to usually an agency or a prime contractor and basically get information about what they're looking for and to sell yourself. So anyone on the panel can weigh in on this. Any good tips?
Back to doing your homework. If you've done your homework or you're doing your homework on the match to find out what they're doing, what they're looking at right now. They like especially a lot of the primes that I matchmaking I went with was always fairly large ones like the Lockheed Martins, Northrop Grumman, stuff like that. So there's plenty of information out there on that. But I would imagine on the smaller ones, their website and stuff like that. So you can find, you need to talk to what they're talking about, not just some generic stuff that you see out there. So what's the buzz on them in their platform? So you want to, and to stand out, the standout part is you don't lead with, I'm a woman-owned business. I mean, it's a little obvious when you show up. So, but it sounds like you're selling on your set-asides. And that's the last thing they want to hear. You can talk about that at the end, the set aside, your classification and set asides, but you want to talk about what you've done in the past. Past performance is really good, obviously, or even if you have any new, very new stuff. The thing of it is when it comes to meeting them, they gotta, I mean, haven't you been and sat down with a meeting with people and you just kind of hit it off right away? Again, they're people. So you got to bring your best game to the game and show them that you're somebody that they want to do business with.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Anyone else on a panel want to weigh in on what they would like to hear you say during a matchmaking session?
Hi, it's Monica. Kudos, I agree with everything that Pam mentioned before. Definitely, if you hold any particular certifications, you want to mention those types of things last, to not give the impression that you feel that you are owed something because you're 8A or that you're woman-owned or that you're HUBZone. So I like to, and I've had some counterparts over my 30 years of doing this. I've sat on many panels where they say, Monica, we disagree. You know, as a contracting officer, I want to hear about that first. So you will hear differences of opinion in regard to that, but I agree with Pam that it should be mentioned last, because for you, it's a certification. To your customer, it's a contracting vehicle by which I can administer my contract. It's not a way to generate revenue. I could care less about any of that. As the customer, I have an opportunity and I'm looking to see, do I want to set it aside under one of those certification programs, such as 8A or woman-owned or veterans or HUBZone, or maybe I'll make the purchase via GSA schedule. I have options there. If I decide not to, I can go full and open. If it's over $250,000, I'll just put it out for bid and let you all fight over it like cats and dogs. Or if it's $250,000 or less, per FAR, I could go simplified acquisition, which is small business set aside. So again, as a contracting officer, I have options. So try not to lead with what you call your certification. Think about the customer that you're having this 10-minute matchmaking session with, where you should have done your homework, as Pam mentioned, prior to know what is their favorite contracting vehicle. What is the contracting vehicle they tend to utilize more than not? How do you get that information? usaspending.gov. And the other database, if you're old school, which I am, but I just don't prefer it, and that's FPDS. They both house the exact same information, but for me, usaspending.gov is cleaner. So do your homework first. Know what type of contracting vehicle, and you can get this data ahead of time to make sure that the certification in which you're mentioning is the right one for the customer in which you're speaking to. And then last comment is going to be, during the 10 minutes, only 10 minutes, just get to it. Leave a lot of the fluff out of it. I know you feel a lot about yourself and how great you are and how long you've been in business. You've got 10 minutes with me. So you're gonna need to put all that to the side. Let's get to what? Past performance. Successful past performance. Let's touch on those things that are most important to the customer. Last comment, it's not about you, it's about them. So if you've done your homework, you know what to talk about that's important to the potential customer within the 10 minutes. Leave everything else off the table. If you are given the privilege of a full-blown presentation, at that presentation, you could do a little bit more of the fluff and talk about yourself and how great you are. But during 10 minutes, you have to leave it all out and just get to it, because time is of the essence. We don't have time for all of that. So I need you to kind of understand and be strategic and pre-plan for that 10-minute matchmaking session. It can mean all the difference to whether or not you receive a follow-up meeting or phone call. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. All right, well, we are coming to the end of this event, and our final question is one that I would like to open up to every member on the panel, which is, what is the one thing every business should do this year to improve their chances of winning a contract? So I guess, Akeisha, can we start with you?
Okay, so one thing I really want to emphasize with small businesses is to do your market research. I mean, we say it just like haphazardly, oh yeah, but small businesses do not do their research, and then they bid on a contract and don't win. Well, they didn't properly market research, and then start small. Just like we keep saying in the roundtable, please identify 1 to 3 agencies, craft it, get your templates, get all your documents prepared for that, because you're going to have to customize for each agency. Once you've customized it, you understand the mission, you understand their vision, you understand what they want, and then provide your solution. That's all I have.
Thank you, Akeisha, for that. Okay, Pam, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. What you want to do is you want to use the government marketplace, understand what they're doing, just like she said, and take advantage of the resources, PTAC, SBDC, all the resources out there, especially the free resources out there for you. And we all have lanes that we're in. We are the government contracting space, federal, state, local. We are the place to come to. We're your free resource because your tax dollars pay for our assistance.
Thank you, Pam. And Monica, what would you like to say?
So we want to improve our chances of winning a contract. So we've already talked about market research and doing our homework, and we could, beat that dead horse to death. But at the end of the day, we're in COVID. So the way in which you used to do business, it has changed. So I would say in this coming year, you want to focus on your online presence. What do you look like? Do you have a website? Remember, website's not enough. You could have a website, but if I don't know who you are and I've never heard of you, how would I exactly know to go to your website? I wouldn't. So that means you've got to attach the website to what? Some type of social media. From a business standpoint, I think that should be LinkedIn. We all should be in LinkedIn. I know I am as a company. I'm in there every day, posting, reposting, I'm sharing things, I'm reading articles, I'm staying in the know. Because in COVID, it's virtual. Yes, at some point we will go back to face-to-face, but in this coming year, if you don't do anything else, improve your online presence. Because prior to me awarding a contract, I'm going to do what Pam talked about earlier. I'm going to go to certain databases such as your SAM profile and see what you look like. I'm going to go to SBA DSBS, conduct some additional market research. I'm going to visit your company website. I'm going to take a look at your LinkedIn profile. And if I could find a Facebook or a Twitter, I might check that out too. But all of that is part of my decision-making process. So if you have no online presence or very little online presence, or I go to your website and I scroll to the bottom and see the last time you've updated it was like 2007. That's an issue for me. So again, in this coming year, focus on what you look like online. If you don't have a presence, get one. Because we're stuck in COVID for a long time now, which is what it looks like. And so while I have to get a sneak peek at what you look like and the quality of work that you may or may not be able to provide may be simply what you look like online. So I would say you should really focus on that in the coming year, amongst a lot of other things, but that's definitely going to help you make that short list of a company that could be considered for the award. Thank you.
Monica, that digital footprint should look the same. You shouldn't have
Yes.
on this platform look like this and that.
Yes, I agree. Consistency. So what Pam is saying is when I go to your website and I see your logo, your coloring, your outline, I should see the same thing on your Facebook. I should see the same thing on your LinkedIn. I shouldn't see a different logo on LinkedIn than what you have on your website. There needs to be consistency. That's called branding. All right, that's called branding. So your brand, put it out there, and then I want you to spam it everywhere. I didn't say send spam. I said, I just want to be able to go from one online presence venue such as a LinkedIn or Facebook and go to your website, and there's consistency. So when I see that logo, I recognize that that's you. But if it's different in all these places, like Pam said, that just doesn't work. So you got to do that as well. Pam, thanks for adding that.
Hey, Denise, I don't know if you're still on the call. Would you like to recommend something that all businesses should try to attempt to do this year to improve?
Yes, Yasmin, I am still here. I would say patience, patience, patience. Stick with your counselor, follow their advice, follow the action plan that they've given you, because they are the experts. They are the ones that you've come to for advice. If you come thinking or saying that you know more than they do, then what will you get from that counselor during that year? So you have to have patience. Government contracting takes a while, federal, state, or local. We have lots of firms who come to us and, okay, I'm certified 8A, where's my 8A contract? Okay, I'm certified women-owned small business, where's my contract? And think that that's simply the tool to opening the door and getting in. So I suggest you have patience. Typically, our clients are with us 2 years before they secure their first government contract. There is an exception to that. There are those who come in and already have that connection, have done their work, have already have that relationship, have a very unique product or service that they can provide to a very unique entity. And therefore, you know, they're able to land that government contract sooner. But it's been our experience that most firms that come and need to be trained, need to be educated, need to be exposed, and need to be counseled on doing government contracting, state, local, and federal. So again, I conclude with patience. It will come. I know it doesn't seem like it. I know, you know, you're saying, I got to put that food on the table. I got to feed these kids. I got to, you know, send somebody to college, yada, yada, yada. We understand that. But patience will eventually land you to a government contract. And then lastly, recognize when it's not for you. Government contracting is not for every business, but that will be identified very early in your relationship with the PTAC. If you stick with your counselor, it'll show itself. And you know, you may decide, hey, I like commercial business better. I'm not going down this road. Not for me. So again, patience, patience, patience.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. I wish we could go on longer. Maybe next year we'll make it a 3-hour event or something like that. But I'd like to thank all of you for sticking with us, for participating. You're already ahead of the curve by educating yourself, by attending webinars like this. So pat yourself on the back for that. And we really couldn't do our jobs without you. So thank you again. Thank you to all the panelists, Denise, Richard, Monica, Akeisha, and Pam. And unfortunately, Arthena couldn't be with us, but I'm sure she was here with us in spirit. And also thank you to our 2 client success stories, John Graham and Lakeisha Claxton. Thank you again. We hope you got a lot out of this. I will be sending the slides and the chat notes to you, as well as the recording later today. My only advice to all of you is to continue to attend our classes. They're all free, take advantage of them. We're trying to bring you as much education as we can, particularly as COVID doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. So please do stay safe, be responsible, take care of yourselves. And we hope to see you again, either at a counseling session or another PTAC event. And yes, I will be sending the recording out to everybody. So thank you all, everybody. Take care and bye-bye.